Live anyway, so there we go. Let's put the countdown timer on. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Andrew Jenkins, and this is a short countdown timer to help the various feeds catch up with themselves and settle down. And we can't wait for today's groovy show. We're never quite sure if we go live, so if you can give us a comment in the comments field quickly, then that helps us to settle our nerves down that we know we're live. So, and we're going to be hanging out with our Leaders Live guest this week is CEO of Code 56, Owen Conti. And our theme is how ChatGPT can empower digital evolution for your business. Oh, that deserves a oh. So please let us know if our stuff's coming through. Okay, yep, we've got a Facebook user. We want a LinkedIn user as well, please. So let us know we're all coming through okay. That would be useful. Yes, there we go. Fantastic. Thank you. And a bit of controversy today. Dr. Geoffrey Hinton, the man who touted as the godfather of AI, quit Google last week or this week, citing concerns over the flood of misinformation. There you go. And also Elon Musk has been talking about this as well and has fallen out with founder Larry Page of Google for IA safety concerns. So there we are. 103rd show, folks, by the way. So with Sarah, Owen, me, Marketing CX, our sponsors this week. That's the team, folks. Wow, there we go. Wow. So great to see you all on live. I'll just press the live button to know that we're there. Brilliant. We've got a lot of people on today. So, oi, oi, people, and hi, gang, it's Leaders Live showtime, folks, and good morning to you all. We'll come to the good mornings in a moment. It's just after 8:45 a.m. here in the UK, and we are live with Leaders Live, spreading the love, yappa dabba doo. And as I said, it's always great when we know that we're live, because you're never quite sure until you hit that button. So I hope you enjoyed the groovy opener intro, gang, as well, and we're delighted that we're being powered by our new sponsor this week, Marketing CX, Tilly Davis's group in South Africa. And yeah, look out for who's sponsoring us each week, because that's rotating and changing now. And please let us know if our audio is coming through okay too. And if you're new to Leaders Live, a warm welcome to you. And Leaders Live, folks, is a dynamic weekly talk show that generates business through networking, through community, and through extraordinary conversations that inspire. And as I mentioned in the countdown, I'm Andrew Jenkins, and I host this interactive Leaders Live show that's built an awesome community of like-minded leaders, just like you guys that are online right now. So thank you very much. And so please don't be shy. We'd love you to introduce yourself and join in and interact with all the comments as we go along and chat and ask questions too. That's what this show's about. And we've got 3 very simple rules. It's a safe community, folks, mutual respect, and please no selling in the room. And our power is I to the power of we. And look, we put a lot of effort into this show. And thank you for Ildi last week for buying me a coffee. But if you fancy buying me a coffee for all the effort we put in, you can use buymeacoffee.com/leaderslive. Buy me 5, you get a half-hour coaching session free, folks. And it looks a bit like this if I can find it. Do a quick test for you. So it looks like this. Yay, there it is. And if you put your name in the setup, then you get your name in lights as well. So there we go. So that's just a little bit of fun. And smash those likes too, folks. You know, we really appreciate that. That keeps us motivated to still love that bell. And so, you know, this show talk enables you to listen to some great content, but there's so much more value when you subscribe to our email list, because you get leadership skills, you get teaching, you get value, it equips you to lead well, and you get freebies and updates along the way. What's not to like? So, and make it real simple. We've got a single a single link tree link for you just to get all my links in one place. So if you put it all together, what do you got? Bibbity, bobbity, boo. There you go. And yeah, let's just bring up our guest for this morning. Hello, Owen Conti, CEO of Code 56. Welcome to you. How you doing?
Morning, Andrew. Thank you. I'm good. Yeah, you?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And our theme today, we're chatting all about ChatGPT today, aren't we? So we can't wait for that. And you may have an audience question if you've got it to hand. Otherwise, I can say it for you. But we've got an audience question to kick off the audience right now.
Yeah. So I'd like to know if anyone in the audience, have you actually used ChatGPT or maybe another AI tool yet? And if so, what have you used it for?
Yeah. Okay. So if so, why have you used it? So have you used it yet? And you've got to be living under a rock if you don't know what it is yet, but we're hoping that you've had a go at it and used it. But if you haven't, you'll learn all about it today. And if you've got a question to ask Owen this morning, then please whop it into the feed, and the link's already in the chat, so you can see it there. Now, there's just a slight delay in the feed coming up, so we're just going to come over while we're waiting for the feed to catch up. Mrs. Moderator, how you doing? Let's just bring Sarah Jenkins in. How you doing?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's
Good
nice
morning.
to see everybody's awake and online. Morning, Maria, Simon Brown, Kieran, Paul Winfield, Ildy. I'm glad you've had your coffee.
Yeah, Ildy. Yeah, Ildy, you've like got 10 coffees there. That's yeah, I like it.
Good morning, Pushpendra, Munaf.
Yeah, good morning, Munaf. Yeah, good morning, Munaf.
Tony
Yeah,
Matthews. Yes, he has used ChatGPT. Can't even say it this morning.
get your teeth in.
Get your teeth in.
Yeah.
Maria hasn't used it. Ildy has a subscription.
A subscription to ChatGPT 4, I guess. Yeah,
there
fantastic.
You go. So yeah, Kieran's used it for writing letters, marketing materials, and some advice. Simon Brown's used it for an article he wrote on hybrid working. So yeah, it's becoming more mainstream, definitely.
That Facebook user, is that Kieran this morning, did you say?
No, Kieran's on LinkedIn.
Okay, right. Okay, so we've got this on Facebook as well. So there we are. Brilliant. And yep, Simon Brown. Brilliant. So there we go. So the comments are flowing. So please keep the questions coming, and we'll take it from there. And yeah, so just before we start, let's just give, where is my confetti bomb? There it is. Let's just give Owen a round of applause. There we go. Brilliant, brilliant. So, gosh, the comments are just flowing madly this morning. We've got a massive audience this morning, so that's great news. So, Owen, let's start with a controversial question, just because we like a bit of controversy, me and you. Yeah, there's a lot of speculation in the news that AI might wipe us out as human beings. Is there any truth in that scaremongering, or is it just conspiracy? Because we like a good conspiracy, don't we, on this show?
We do.
Yeah.
I think if you zoom out enough, maybe, but I don't think ChatGPT is going to wipe out humanity. I think it's very, it's a bit like a table saw, right? If you use a table saw with all the safety gear and things like that, it's actually quite safe. It's still a dangerous tool.
Yes,
it is still a dangerous tool. Yeah. But then if you start tinkering with it and you start taking some of those safety precautions out, then there's a lot more risk of you cutting your hand off. So yes, there is a risk, but I think it's way too early to be talking about AI wiping us out in our lifetimes, for sure. But I think equally we've been playing with AI for a long time, really.
Right.
It depends on how you want to argue it. But when you're writing a text message or a WhatsApp message on your smartphone nowadays, it's suggesting the next couple of words and things like that. That's been there since early smartphone days. So it's evolution. It's not something brand new completely. But yeah, like any tool, it's not without risk. I don't think I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be told, ChatGPT is overthrowing the government, and now we all need to to log on to openai.com and receive our instructions.
Wow, that'd be scary. But Matrix moment.
I think it would be ignorant of us to not consider what some of those risks and what some of those situations could be. Down the line, once we talk about automated vehicles and automated machinery and more things like that, then there are risks and we need to keep people safe. And it's not necessarily dystopian overthrowing everybody, but it's things like if you think about just delivery drones, for example, like
delivery drones, how cool.
If something goes wrong with one of those, it could well hurt somebody. Purely accidental, not in a kind of Terminator style.
Get knocked on the head by a parcel.
Yeah, well, exactly. Or or run over by a pizza delivery drone or something. So I think for now, I don't think we're at any risk of waking up tomorrow and being servants to robots.
Yeah, thank God for that. Yeah, but it's interesting in the news this week. Over the last few days, the man touted as the godfather of AI quit Google this week, citing concerns over the flood of misinformation, the possibility for AI to upend the job market, and the existential risk posed by the creation of true digital intelligence. Says the Guardian. Quite amazing. And then I read somewhere else that. Elon Musk was citing same issues of safety concerns and stuff, but yeah, it's got some great benefits too, hasn't it? And how can we use it? So okay, there's the conspiracy piece out of the way for now, and we wanted to start with a bit of controversy. So as long as we've got safety mechanisms in place, we're going to be okay, we reckon. But it's interesting how the media is sort of latching onto this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what's the news article that's going to get more interaction?
Exactly.
AI
Exactly.
is misinforming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In as much, let's try and look at it this way, right?
Yeah.
ChatGPT is more like a toddler than it is like a teenager.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I've got a 2-year-old, and it's very clear that her imagination and real life blend into one another. And there are loads of cases where ChatGPT will just confidently make stuff up.
Yeah.
If you ask it for you ask it for a prompt, well, it does. It's that kind of sell it with the confidence and people will believe it kind of thing. But let's not mistake that this is still an early tool.
Exactly.
It's not supposed to be used for citations and references and things like that. As an example, I think people have said they've used it to write letters and marketing material and things like that.
Yeah.
Largely, when I use it as something to create an initial draft that I then go over and do something else with.
Indeed, it's a good start.
Because I find I find it really difficult to create new content, but I find it a lot easier to edit. So today, that's where the tool set is. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's good for.
Yeah, sorry.
No, carry on.
I was just going to say, we're at that stage now where we need to learn how to interact with the tool to get what we want out of it. Much like back in 1990, whatever, when Google first became a thing. I'm of that generation where I do remember a time at school where I had to look up facts in encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And then Google came along, and it wasn't great, really.
No, it wasn't. But it was a good start,
days,
right? Yeah.
Because there wasn't a lot of information there. And then as the information grown, now if I wanted to look up facts about killer whales, I'd just Google it. I wouldn't have to go into the library, find Owen Britannica and all of that. So I guess my point is over the last 20-something years, we've learned how to use things like Google and search engines much, much more effectively. And I think over the next, we're at that early sort of first couple of year stage where people are really understanding how to use the tool and how to interact with it to get what they want out, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. So we're learning to use it. It's it's going to be a 2-year cycle while it learns. It's still in its toddler stage. It's growing up fast. But it has tremendous benefits, which we'll come on to in a moment. And, also we know what it's good at and what it's not good at, which we'll come on to. Let's just give you a quick break for now. Let's just see what's going on the feed so we can catch up with the audience for a moment. Mrs. Moderator, what's going on?
Tons.
Yeah, I know. It's massive, isn't it? It's huge today.
I'm going to pull up Stuart Prestige's comment.
Okay, Stuart.
I believe
Hi,
the
Stuart.
problem with ChatGPT is that non-experts will rely on incorrect or misleading results with real-world issues arising from this.
Yeah. Okay. Information in, information out, right?
Yeah, and as Owen says, it's growing up. It's not the definitive version, and it won't necessarily, as you say, it will confidently tell us the results, but it might be a load of rubbish.
Confidently tell us fake news, right? That sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that any of the AI tools that you're going to interact with, the data set is limited. They're not going to be bang up to date. And there's a few very good reasons why they shouldn't be right now. Cast your mind back a little while ago, and Microsoft had a chatbot that became incredibly racist incredibly quickly, and they closed it down because and even ChatGPT, there was an article I read a while ago about how it was trained, and there was a lot of human intervention to make sure that horrible material didn't make it into the learning. So again, we're still kind of finding our
the
feet
way.
with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But equally, when you ask it questions that require knowledge of yesterday, for example, they're not going to be able to do that. Not for a while, at least.
Yeah.
Certainly right now, it's kind of 2021, 2022.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Simon Brown said something along those lines as well. I think if I can find it. Yeah, he said exactly the same. Yeah, it's learning. More recent events is more difficult. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. After 2021, it's less good. But I mean, even then, that's still incredibly powerful for people who, when you're creating content, or you're trying to, let's say you want to learn a new programming language.
Yeah.
You can put things in, and it will spit out stuff that you can start with.
Yeah.
And I would say whatever you get from any AI tool, this isn't just me leveling the gun at ChatGPT. It's something to start with and then to build your knowledge on. It can save you a few hours, but you still need to do some work with it.
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't replace you. It just gives you a starter for 10, right? That's interesting. Thank you. Sarah, what else is going on? Let's pick up what else is going on in the feed.
Yeah, lots of people commenting that they use it as a starting point, as you said, to get an idea, and then they can edit it. There was a funny comment about, Tony Matthews, social media presentations, interview questions, and other things. After discussing it with the wife, it was interesting. She stated, well, looks like we don't need to think anymore. So, a lot of people love using it as a starting point.
Yeah.
That is a massive theme running through the chat.
Yeah, I think Laurie was trying to use it to write proposals. She said it's absolute rubbish.
No. She didn't say it was rubbish. The rubbish comment was for something else.
Okay, fine, got it.
Would
Okay,
destroy the human race? Are we going to be wiped out? No.
Oh, absolute rubbish. Right, there we go. Yeah.
So, you have to read the content properly.
That's why you're here. So there you go.
That's why you've got me.
Yeah, indeed.
Right. So Shiraz says, is ChatGPT the future for governments and local government information, advice and guidance?
Interesting.
I do worry about the fake news aspect, and how easy would it be to put something into ChatGPT that I think somebody else mentioned, that it's slightly worrying that if you take that as gospel, then it could start some very nasty
It could. However, that's still an issue even if you take AI out of the equation. In that, if I want to disseminate some either 100% fake or incredibly biased opinions on the internet and then become a reference that you might potentially use, I can do that. There's nothing stopping me from creating a dozen different websites that look legitimate, creating some history behind it. I mean, there's been news articles of exactly that happening. So while that is a danger with AI and makes it probably more widely ranging, it's still a problem that exists even if AI didn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's behind all of this, there are some social problems that we need to tackle collectively. Well, I'd say we, not just the three of us. I think it's a little bit beyond Andrew, Sarah, and myself. But yeah, absolutely. And I think we are in that stage of learning how to use the tool, and learning how to interact with it. And what I mean by that is, I think sort of without discussing it, everybody's learned how to use Google and input and expect output from a computer. And this is the evolution of that, where the computer feels a little bit more human.
Yeah.
And I think with the misinformation thing, there is it's one thing if you log onto OpenAI and open up ChatGPT window and you ask it a direct question. It's another thing if a company you use has ChatGPT powered chat bots or things like that. So you might, let's say you open up our website and you hit the little chat button. Now that comes to one of our team.
Yeah.
We've not implemented AI in there yet. I don't think it's ready for it just yet.
But it's coming, baby.
But absolutely,
evolution, baby.
it's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, AI has been coming for professional services for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But my point is if you're now interacting in a chat on another service and you don't realize it's AI, there is a risk there, and I think the people who put that into place need to be quite considered with how they train their models.
And that's his evolution, isn't it? Is how we
Yeah,
train
exactly.
those models. Yeah, let's just quickly pick up some stuff that's going in the feed to augment what you just said there, Owen. Sarah.
Let's have a look. So Rebecca Jenkins says, how do you think ChatGPT will evolve?
Yeah, that's what we've just been picking up. Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's look at that. So recently, ChatGPT version 4 has come out, and it's still pretty new. It's still slower than 3.5, but trying to keep my words polite here. It's incredible. It is literally awesome in that when you put information into it and it starts to spit stuff out at the caliber that it can, the fact it takes 30 seconds is immaterial. So again, the tool itself, the whole AI landscape really is evolving all at the same time. And as it's that kind of collective thing of once one tool gets better, they're all going to get better. You know, you talk about people leaving Google and the politics behind the scenes and people falling out and whatnot. They're moving around the companies. There's probably a little bit of generating news there to generate interest, to generate investor interest.
Of course.
If I'm being cynical.
Brilliant.
But my point is it's that kind of collective, leveling up, that sort of that competitive stance between the different tools. So swinging back to, what's it going to be good at in the future? The large language models like ChatGPT that are based on, in essence, if you were to sit down and read 1 million books, that's kind of what the approach is in layman's terms. Like I'm deliberately oversimplifying, and I hope no one at OpenAI comes for me afterwards. But so it understands, the structure of language and things like that. So where you're dealing in content, or maybe you're creating content for a blog or social media posts, or you're writing language. And when I say language, that could include programming and scripting languages as well. That's where tools like ChatGPT are going to get better and better and better. And as they get better trained and more educated, the outputs are going to be better quality.
Better.
I think for the foreseeable future, they still need somebody to look it over. Much in that, well, let me put it this way. You wouldn't take somebody fresh out of a GCSE English class, tell them to write your marketing material, and then just post whatever they created.
Gotcha.
Okay. You would review it, you'd proofread it, you'd make sure it was fit for what you wanted. You'd make sure that you understood it so that your prompt to them was clear.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And that's kind of what we're doing with ChatGPT. If you kind of think that you're, I mentioned a toddler earlier. Let's say you're talking to a school child and you want them to write a story. There's going to be the first time you tell them what you want, they might not hear what you meant to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with ChatGPT. And I find myself, when I'm using it, I'll go back and forth with it. I'll say, give me a prompt that does X, Y, Z. And then it comes back with something. I'm like, it's not formal enough, or it's a bit too lenient. Can you make it a bit more stern? Things like that. And it can be very good for making sure you're getting your point across in a clear, understandable, and professional way.
Yeah, gotcha.
Especially given that there's safeguards and balances to make sure that it doesn't swear, it doesn't use profanity, things like that, So it can really help calm down. If you're dealing with like a high stakes customer complaint, for example, and you need to respond to it, you can use this as a kind of sounding board, going back and forth to kind of work through what language it is you really want to use.
Yeah, what type of language, what age group you want to get to, those kind of
Yeah.
things. Okay. So really intelligent, and it's learning all the time, as you've said. And, that you've just touched on a few sort of things that this is really good for our business and our lives in general, right? Just writing stuff like you said. It's good at poetry, for example, not quite so good at the football scores, I saw someone saying in the chat. So let's just give you a quick break for now. Let's just quickly go to Mrs. Moderator again. What are the kind of things that people are saying business-wise for this, Sarah?
Business-wise, they're using it for, as I say, as a starting point for
Starting point, yeah.
presentations, for social media posts, to beat the procrastination.
Yeah, the blank sheet of paper, right? That's what it's brilliant at, I find. Yeah, I find it really good for that.
One interesting comment. Obviously, we're talking a lot about ChatGPT, but there are other AI tools out there. And Sakila says, which is best, MPT-7B versus AI GPT-4?
Oh, right. Okay.
So I must admit, obviously
didn't know that.
ChatGPT
Yeah.
is the headline one that we have all
Yeah,
heard
of
of.
course.
I haven't really heard of any of the others. What other ones are there, Owen?
There are quite a few. I mean, I'll put my hands up. I'm not familiar with the MB7 whatever, but I will be checking it out after this. But for example, Google have got Bard,
Google,
which if I'm okay, let's be a bit controversial and a bit critical. I don't think Bard is anywhere near, the Google AI tool isn't as advanced yet. But given the weight of Google, I imagine it will be catching up pretty quickly. Microsoft are, for lack of better terminology, kind of in bed with OpenAI, and they've started to integrate that with Bing and the Edge search and things like that. Still really early days there. And then there's a plethora of others.
Coming through.
To answer the what's best question, it really depends on what you're trying to do with it. So if you're trying to write, generic content, marketing messages, things like that, ChatGPT is great because that's where it's come from.
Great starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's come from reading a lot of things, so it's going to be good at writing a lot of things. In essence, in terms of playing. So Google in the past have had. I think it was Google anyway. They created an AI that was incredibly good at playing the game Go, with the the little things that flip over, and it beat a world master.
Wow,
that would be terrible at writing poetry. Again, to come back to the tool scenario, you use a table saw for some things, use a jigsaw for others.
Yeah,
they're both still saws. They're both still cut. You could probably if you've got a big sheet of plywood that you need to cut, you could probably do it with a jigsaw, but it wouldn't be the greatest cut. If you wanted to do fine, intricate cuts, you're not going to do that with a table saw.
Yeah, so different tools, so different AI tools for different things, right? As it emerges.
Exactly. Okay. And I appreciate in the tech industry, we like our jargon, we like our acronyms, and it's not necessarily so easy to understand which type of AI is best for which type of thing. Which is kind of why I think we focused purely on ChatGPT for this conversation. Because if we were to talk about AI as a whole, where do you start and stop that conversation? Is autocomplete text messaging AI?
Indeed. Okay, so we're early days yet, but the ChatGPT is the kind of de facto at this point in time.
It's the one that's making big headlines because I think it's the one that's woken a lot of people up to realize that certainly in the professional services space where, your sort of raw material is really your knowledge. It's kind of shaking people up to realize how far along AI has been coming in the background.
Yeah. And we did this poll the other day as well to lead up to the build up to this event. In what ways do you consider ChatGPT might best benefit digital evolution for your business? So thinking about the business need here. And customer service, 19%, process automation, 48%, not surprising. Improve business decision making, only 4%. And brainstorm ideas, 30%. Interesting, that thought. I would have thought for me, so customer services is probably where it's heading rather than process automation. But the 48% reckon Yeah, interesting.
This kind of says to me that your process automation, your brainstorming ideas.
Yeah.
I think that's first wave. I
Yeah.
think customer service is second
Okay.
wave, and I think decision making is going to be third wave. And I think what we're seeing here is that kind of early adopter approach. And those 4% who are using it to improve their decision making or see the way that it can, I see those as, you kind of bleeding edge early adopter types. Because the process automation and the brainstorming ideas, we could open up a ChatGPT window right now, throw some scenarios at it. We could create a whole new web page. It would be quite basic with the code that came out.
Yeah.
But it would give us something to start with. We could prove a concept with it. We could look at getting code out that helped us connect our, accounting package, say Xero, to our ticket system to automate time tracking and invoicing of that.
Yeah.
So those are all things that we could do. And the code will be pretty simple. It will need work. It's not going to be perfect. You can't just unbolt it and take it out of ChatGPT window and put it straight into production. It's not going to work like that.
It's not going to work. But you've tried it, haven't you, Owen? You've tried looking
I've
at
been
code.
playing with it. Yeah. Absolutely. One of the things that I do in the background quite a lot is some of our own automations. And I write some tools that we use internally to streamline things. And I've used ChatGPT to sort of shave off a lot of that initial, where do I need to look for this, or how do I, and equally it's come back with some stuff that's made me go, oh yeah, I could do it this way or that way or the other, as a kind of, I guess, brainstorming ideas. In terms of customer service, I absolutely see a future whereby, even in our space, in technical support, I can see a future where you go onto a website and you start having a chat with something. You don't even realize it's not a human, but it may well solve the initial issues that you're having. Because some of the stuff that, there's the trope, isn't there? Have you switched it off and on again? And if an IT person's asking you to do that, it's because they know that it's probably some obscure little thing that just needs to be restarted. Yeah. But the easiest way to describe that to somebody who doesn't know how computers work is to shut the whole thing off and turn it back on. So some of those sort of entry-level things I can certainly see coming in. Or, let's say you order some clothes online, they don't fit right, or there's a delivery delay or whatever. I can certainly see, we are seeing chatbots being used there, but those are, in terms of intelligence, those are pretty low. At the moment, I can see those getting better and better. Yeah. Even if it's just to make the chat feel more human. Instead of pick answer 1, 2, or 3, you write an actual sentence. It understands that and writes a new sentence back to you. In terms of decision making, I can see it being really useful as a sounding board, and helping you. Okay, now bear in mind, if you want to know what stocks you need to invest in 2024, not the right tool.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you're the leader of a small business and you're by yourself and you don't feel you have peers around you to bounce ideas off, or you're not comfortable
virtual
with
board. Yeah.
You could use it in that way. And you can feed it in a bunch of information and then have a discussion with it. So you can take that discussion out of your own head and start to use the artificial intelligence to progress that decision making.
That's yourself. Really interesting. Yeah. And you said earlier that when we just started looking at this poll, you said, well, we're first wave at the moment, which is process automation. Second wave is the customer services revolution. And then thirdly, this third wave will be around decision making and brainstorming ideas and having a virtual board and things like that to help you. Wow, those are fascinating aspects of this that I hadn't thought about, actually. Let's just bring it, Mrs. Moderator. Let's see what's going on the feed, just to sort of give you a break and to bring Sarah in for a minute. What else is going on?
Well, Eddie Young says, Owen, please stop giving away all the IT secrets.
Oh, brilliant. Anything else?
Let's have a look. Prue Butterworth says, re customer service. This is already being provided by companies, including Deep
Deep
Desk.
Desk. Yeah, interesting. So it's already happening, maybe at an early stage. There was something earlier. You're laughing about something there, Sarah.
I'm laughing at Eddie Young is treading on thin ice. ChatGPT-4 learning how to win an argument with the wife. You won't win. Just accept you won't win. All right.
There you go. Says Sarah. So there you are. So Eddie, you just never will win that one. Earlier there was a comment by Sarah, Sarah Jane Wormsley or something. She was talking about something which looked quite interesting actually for a moment.
Oh, it's quite a way, but yes. It totally rewrote her invite email for a women's network and made it more fun and inviting than the usual blurb. She edited some parts, but generally loved the new level of writing. So I think a lot of people are finding it useful for that sort of thing. Paul Winfield made a really good point when we talk about comparing the different AIs and what they're for. He said it's a bit like comparing medicine as a whole to the individual specialities.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's a great analogy.
Nice one, Paul.
Let's have a look.
I mean, it's a great natural language thing, isn't it? I mean, that's what it's based for. So languages can be brilliant at, right? So things like marketing and blogs and things like that. Amazing.
So yes and no. If you ask ChatGPT to reverse the word lollipop, it's not going to do it right.
Okay, that's interesting.
And that's down to how the AI sees words. It doesn't actually see letters and words. It sees things as tokens. And generally speaking, most words are one token, but certainly longer words can break into 2 or 3 tokens. So there's some really interesting things behind the scenes that aren't quite obvious when you first start interacting with it. But like that's one little thing that I've seen firsthand. Because you think, well, if it can write me a poem about Andrew Jenkins and his Be Awesome sign, why can't it just reverse the word lollipop?
Yes.
And but you see, it's those things that it's like Google in the early days, in that
exactly,
we're learning how it works. We kind of learn how to interact with it, and yeah, that's interesting little things.
Interesting little things, yeah, and those little interesting things just keep us just wow factors at the moment, aren't they? And it's just interesting how that. I mean, just to write marketing material, as was it Sarah said, just fantastic, for that kind of stuff. It's a good starting point. You still got to edit it, right? And
absolutely. Yeah. It's not going to replace the likes of marketing experts or things like that. No. What it might make it more difficult to get into a new career in a knowledge-based sector. That entry level might become more difficult to get into.
Yeah.
Because those tools, if an expert is wielding one of those tools, they can do a lot more with their time. If that makes sense.
Okay, so when you're very experienced, you can use the tool even better. It's about the skill of using the tool as well. Interesting. Sarah, what else is going on?
Yeah, Simon Brown says, do you think ChatGPT is a fast track to enhance chatbot for customer service and internal employee shared services? And does it translate to all main international languages?
Oh, interesting.
I've no idea.
I have not tried, largely because I'm just an ignorant English speaker. But no, that's a good shout. With things like Google Translate and things like that, if it doesn't do it already, I can see it coming. Again, if it can write English and it can write code, I can't see why it couldn't quickly pick up the grammatical structure and spellings of a different language. In terms of customer service, I see it as a fast track, and I see technology is a force multiplier.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, let's take the two extremes. Okay, so let's take a positive multiplier. It's going to speed you up and it's going to get you there faster. It's going to mean you can do more with less, etc., etc.
So speed up, do more with less. Yep.
If you use it wrong, it's going to slow you down. It's going to hamper your. It's going to stifle you. It's going to hamper your progress. It's going to make things more difficult because it's not been wielded in the right way.
Gotcha.
This is just an example. This is just another example of that.
Yeah.
So in terms of customer services, absolutely. I mean, before they rebranded, did anybody try interacting with Hermes, the parcel delivery service?
Oh yeah.
Everything. If I'm trying to keep my temper in check here, but everything. Whenever you had a problem with them, you could not speak to a person. They put a chatbot in place. You couldn't even email them. You had to deal with this chatbot that was dumb. It wasn't smart. It wasn't smart at all. So, from a customer point of view, that's a negative force multiplier, if that makes sense. Because I want a solution to my problem. I want to speak to somebody. I want to know that this is going to be resolved.
Indeed, a human being, a real person.
Well, yeah. I want to speak to an intelligence. Let's say that can give me confidence that the problem's being resolved.
Gotcha.
Or that I'm being heard. I guess. Yeah. Now, I guess that we've talked about misinformation and the kind of false confidence of ChatGPT. That could be a negative, but equally, a better implementation of a chatbot that was better integrated with the back end systems and things theoretically could be intelligent enough to handle the situation and progress things without needing to bother a human. Yeah. And that I find that really exciting.
That's fascinating.
In some ways it's terrifying, sure. Much as automated vehicles is terrifying to van delivery drivers or lorry drivers or taxis. But let's not forget, we kind of this with industrial revolutions, we get this.
Yeah.
No one's spinning yarn and cotton at home anymore.
No.
The mills killed that. Yeah. And then the evolution of the new mill killed the big stone water-wheeled ones.
So jobs just change, don't they? And roles change and things. Yeah. Let's just bring Sarah back again, because there's a few things going on in the chat which might be interesting to pick up. Sarah.
Yeah, Kieran makes a really good point. ChatGPT isn't just for words. It can do stuff that other applications can't do, e.g. Adobe to Excel. You can copy paste from a PDF table of numbers and ask it to populate into rows and columns that can be dropped into a spreadsheet.
Wow, how cool is that?
That is very cool, isn't it?
That's a great business use. So, numbers as well, and, printing up spreadsheets and dropping things into the right columns. That's interesting. And what about things like diagrams and, drawing, for example? Any thoughts on that? Owen, have you got any experience with that?
So OpenAI, it's not something I've played with too much, but OpenAI do have a separate tool that's designed for creating imagery.
Yeah.
And you can give it a prompt like, I want a dog wearing a sombrero eating an ice cream.
Wow.
And it will go off and it will draw one.
Yeah.
And then you can give it, again, much like ChatGPT, you can give it extra prompts and things like that. I think the evolution of the OpenAI service will be integrating all of those things together. Now, with ChatGPT, there is a free tier, so you can go on and you can use it without paying any money. That is, at the moment, 3.5, the slightly older one.
Yep.
Or you can subscribe and get access to the latest one, ChatGPT 4.
Yeah.
The imagery stuff, that comes out at a cost. There is a small charge for using that as well.
Okay, it's a small charge. So ChatGPT 4.
Oh no, so that's with their drawing tool, which its name escapes me. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. There's a drawing tool, basically.
So if you go onto the OpenAI website, it tells you all about the different things that they're doing.
Okay.
And one of those is images, and will be videos and things like that as well.
That's incredible. Video. That's going to be really fascinating, isn't it? Can you do me a trailer for Leaders Live, please? And off it goes. Yeah. Sarah's laughing at that one. What else is going on, Sarah? Sorry, go on, carry on.
No, carry on. I was just waffling.
Sarah.
Well, Laurie's answered the question for us about can it translate.
I saw that. Yeah, brilliant.
So she typed a phrase in and it translated it into Spanish. It's now translated into Puerto Rican, Mexican, and Cuban dialect. So we've now got it totally hooked. So sorry, that is your morning out the window while you play with that.
I wonder if it'll do it into Geordie speak as well, or Brummy speak. Holy moly, she says.
I'd be curious to see if it did any fictional languages like Klingon or Dothraki.
Klingon. Can you convert this to Klingon?
No, Laura, you can check that out for us. What we're
Brilliant.
That is fantastic.
Hello, Sarah Howson, by the way. She was a guest the other
Yeah,
week.
good
So,
morning, Sarah.
yeah.
So Stuart Pressage, I saw a tool that integrated ChatGPT where it helps set up an offer and marketing, but the value was that the tool developers had used their expertise to direct the AI, which increased the value to the user.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where we're up to at the moment, isn't it? Is using it with human intervention, afterwards and moving it on from there. But a great starter, I guess. And in terms of that's where we are now. But where are we heading with this? Where's give us a kind of roadmap of what you think might be possible over this year, maybe in the next 3 years, maybe the next 5 years. What's the roadmap looking like?
To carry on my tool analogy, I think there was a time before power tools existed, right? There was a time before drills existed, before impact drivers existed, and you used an old school handheld screwdriver.
Yeah.
Right. And that was all you had. And then a mechanical screwdriver came around and could, amazing. It does Klingon.
We're just looking at the Klingon statement. Laurie has gone into ChatGPT and translated the quick brown fox into Klingon. And there's the answer, folks.
So I think the evolution is going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
I can see it being used a lot more in customer services and retail type spaces and online.
Okay.
Excuse me. I can see us getting to a point where you're never really sure if you're talking to AI or not.
Not the Turing effect type thing.
Yeah. And I can see it replacing a lot of what's being offshored at the moment. So the call centers and things like that. I think those are probably the next. That I talked about first, second, and third wave. I think that's the first place we're going to start to see it really upset industry is in that kind of frontline customer interaction. Kind of complaints and things like that, where maybe not. Yeah, it's still. I think it's going to be frontline for a while. You're still going to need people, highly trained experts behind it. But I do think it's going to take those entry level positions, or certainly become tool sets for the entry level to be much more effective. So people can do more with less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which then raises the skill of human beings again, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And things like imagery and videos and marketing content and all of these things, yes, it will be able to generate them. I don't think the quality is going to be amazing. In terms that, like we've already covered, it's a couple of years out of date, so it's not going to know the best SEO techniques. It's not going to know the best keyword strategies. It's not, and
that's
even
true.
as it catches up, the algorithms that are in place for those platforms will evolve as well. There's already AI detection in things like university submission portals,
of course, like that, for dissertations and things. Yeah.
But then there's a part of me that likes to sit on the fence and say, well, when I was at school, I was told I'd never have a calculator in my pocket everywhere I went, and I don't. I have a supercomputer in my pocket compared to what
it's now on your watch.
Yeah, exactly. So not only have I got a calculator, but I've got the whole of documented human history online.
That's amazing, isn't it?
So I see it upsetting quite a lot, but then there's an argument that sits in me that says maybe we need to upset quite a lot.
I agree. The disruption, and Laurie said that earlier. Complete rubbish that that's going to overtake us as human beings, but it'll certainly be a fantastic enhancement for us. I wonder, Owen, what's it going to do to our education system? Because depending on your education, you can go into different levels of work, and maybe with those entry levels, as you're talking about, puts a lot of pressure on school children potentially to have, a really smart education, and maybe the whole education industry needs to change as well. The whole sector of that. I mean, that's a massive subject, right? But
it is, and I'm going to tread carefully.
Of course,
I think collectively as people, we need to really be clear with what we want from our education systems. What I want is a system that empowers people to think critically. And I think if we do that, then as the tool set that's available to people changes, if we can make people resilient, and able to think critically, then they'll be able to adapt to the new tool systems. I don't feel the education system set up to do that. But I think that perhaps that's a bit broad, because I don't really know what the education system out of my little bubble is,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
snap.
the systems that are in India will be culturally different, and to the ones in France, to the ones in Russia, we all do this slightly differently. But I think more emphasis should be put on critical thinking, and that then leads you down a path of, okay, we'll use these tools to get some understanding, but how do we make sure we're happy that they're right? How do we, I remember my history GCSE was more about criticizing sources and, saying whether or not it was legitimate or propaganda. And it was a lot about World War II, so there's quite a lot of propaganda kind of thing. And it was kind of saying, well, where did this source come from? And objectively, did they have a narrative they were trying to sell? I think we need more of that, and perhaps less fact regurgitation, and perhaps less training to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, so more opinion based and critical thinking, as you said. I like the thing that you touched on about resilience as well, and maybe even helping us, as Dr. Julia Nesbitt said a few weeks ago on the show when we talked first of all about ChatGPT. First round, he said really interesting. Actually, it gives us more bandwidth to suss out things like mental health and help people. In adapt quickly to being more resilient in a fast-paced world, and having those tools available quickly. Maybe that's a part of the evolution. Maybe that's third wave. Who knows?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of thorny challenges coming up, and one of them is going to be
thorny challenge. Yes.
How do we create a world where what does the world look like in the future, whereby AI is able to do a lot of the entry level stuff, so that removes the ability for people to get into a new market.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just look at McDonald's as an example. Okay, when I was growing up, McDonald's was a de facto first job. You were 16 or whatever, and it was a way to make some money so that you could go do things. Okay, now let's look at, so that was back 2000, let's say. When you had to go up to the till, you had to interact with a human. Somebody then was behind them sorting out the drinks and bagging things up. Somebody was behind that cooking it.
Yeah.
You go to a McDonald's now, and I'd wager the head count is probably a third of what it was, because I go in and I order on a screen when I do.
Well, it's going to be manless soon. So, that's where we're heading, isn't it? So
yeah. So I interact with a screen. I don't need to speak to anybody at the till.
Yeah.
They don't really need anybody front of house, interacting with the customer quite as much. Or certainly they go from 4 people to 1.
Yeah.
It can be bagged up, and then let's fast forward it again. So I punch it on the screen, and I go sit down on a desk, and I put, I'm at this desk. A little robot could ferry it from the kitchen to me.
Absolutely, and that's already happening. I think John Attridge on the show said that we're getting our first staffless McDonald's right now. So listen, Owen, we're kind of running to
Sorry.
it's amazing how quick time flies. So we're just gearing up just to kind of just wrapping up the show shortly. But just before we do, let's just bring our Mrs. Moderator in. Anything that you want to bring up pertinent, Sarah?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered most things. There's generally a feeling that, if you don't start to embrace AI and use it as a tool, you will get left behind. Those people that can use it and benefit from it will, the jobs will be there.
Yeah, and it's about our education needs to change to be much more intelligent, emotional intelligence, says Simon.
That is a real soapbox. We could be hours debating.
Ready. It could be hours.
Stay off that one for now.
It was staying off that one. Okay, so quick one on Owen's stuff that he does in the background. Just talk us through a couple of things that you do, Owen, just so that we've got a sense of your business.
Cool. Okay, so I run a company called Code 56. Effectively, we operate as like a bolt-on IT department for other organizations.
Love that.
and yeah, so it's everything from those moments in life when you go to switch your laptop on and it doesn't, those will keep it clean, oh no moments,
Yeah.
right through to helping our customers make sure their IT is suitable for not just now but the next 3 to 5 years. Through to some strategic bits where people are maybe looking at moving offices, or they're looking at expanding their business or their team,
Mm.
and making sure that their technology is kind of evolving with them. And that's where things like AI come into it. We don't have a commercial offering with AI today. It's still a bit early for that, for the sort of mainstream of things. But it's kind of, we're asking those questions all the time. And it's kind of like, well, what can we be doing in the future? We're not just going to sit here and let the robots take our jobs.
Indeed.
But then, as you can see on the screen, one of the things we look at is cybersecurity. And we're going through and helping people reach Cyber Essentials right now. It's a government-backed scheme that helps just kind of provide some reassurance that to other people that you are doing what you need to do to keep your company or organization, even charities
Safe.
as well,
Yeah, and
safe and secure.
and with AI, that's going to become more and more of a threat as it's used badly, if you like, or for
Yeah,
fake
exactly.
stuff or
It just
fraud.
makes it easier for
Yeah.
people to quickly write things and try things out.
Yeah.
Or write better structured phishing messages, or write better structured scam messages that,
Frightening,
will
isn't it?
be
Yeah.
more difficult to recognize.
Indeed. Yeah, because it's going to get more and more human-like. Yeah. So, yeah, fantastic. Thank you. And then your website, very briefly, is here. So be part of the team and become part of yours. I love this. So this is about
that's our approach.
Yeah, that's your approach. So this is about providing office systems for people. Is that right? Production.
Yeah. So things like Office 365 or
Yeah.
Microsoft 365, laptops, desktops, hardware,
Yeah.
switches, servers, the whole lot.
The whole lot.
Like I say, we act like a bolt-on IT department at all
Brilliant.
levels, really. So while you might see a room full of techies and wonder what they do, we try and do a little bit of all of that, except for software development. We're not developers,
Yeah.
and we're quite happy to put our hands up and say that's not what we do. The infrastructure, the using of systems, and the introducing of automation in a way that makes sense to the business, or I should say organization. We do have some charities that we work with. That's where we are. We're sort of curious techies who want to make sure that the technology is working for the people it serves.
Brilliant. Yeah, there you go. So give Owen a call. He's a national company as well, not just locally based in Burton-on-Trent in the Midlands. But yeah, thank you, Owen. And a quick shout out for the stuff that I do. I ran my first ever Winning Edge workshop the other day on LinkedIn. And yeah, we proved that it worked. I would have liked more people there, but it worked at least. But we're rerunning the whole thing again for people to catch hold of again on the 7th of July at 12:15. And this is aimed at business leaders who currently manage a team and want to know more about how to get the best out of their teams and create high performance team cultures. So that's coming up on the 7th of July. My workshop, Winning Edge workshop on high performing teams. So please join that if you want to. The link's in the feed. I'll come on to Goosh next week. Very briefly, my website on high performing teamwork. You can go and check me out there as well. So all about high performing teams and how to unlock them. And there's a whole bunch of videos there for you to look at as well, to get an idea of how that can help your business. And also, we have a new sponsor this week, Tilly Davis from Marketing CX, and she's just going to give us a couple of words very briefly. So over to Tilly just for a moment. Here we go.
My name is Tilly Davies, the founder and CEO of Marketing CX. Now, our vision is to help LinkedIn users to grow their business and get clients through effective marketing on the platform. Now, this is where I met Andrew Jenkins and his Leaders Live. And we share the same mission and vision. And it is for this reason that I became a proud sponsor of Leaders Live. Like Andrew would say, be there or be square.
Love that. Be there or be square. Thank you, Tilly. Absolutely brilliant. I use my Marketing CX services. She's been fantastic, Tilly, to help grow my business. And just a quick word from Sarah about Leaders Live. Over to you, Sarah, just for a moment.
Yeah, just a reminder that if you can't manage to listen to the whole show, it does come out on podcast. You can rewatch it on the Leaders Live website, or it's on YouTube. So many places to pick it up to see what you've missed. But also just say, if you've enjoyed it, tell other people about it. Subscribe to leaderslive.tv.
Yes, please.
Because you get so much more information. There's a whole back catalogue of all the shows. There's lots of other business information. It's free. What's not to love?
What's not to love? There you go. So tell all your friends. Thank you very much. And in terms of the goose for next week, folks, this is brilliant. So we've got Ricky Harris on, who is a director of one of the institutes, the Management Institutes of Customer Management in South Africa. And our theme is how accountability unlocks customer excellence. She is an absolute expert at this, and the way she links accountability and customer excellence and, her thoughts on that are going to be fantastic. So we can't wait for that show. We think you're going to love it. So we can't wait. Be there or be square, as we say on the show. And yes, thank you for Rebecca for another great show. Thank you very much. So that's a little bit about us, really. So thank you very much for listening. And Owen, thank you ever so much for your time with this extraordinary conversation about ChatGPT. Boy, we had so many people online during this session. So great feed as well. So thank you ever so much for all the comments that have come through, and for Owen as well for his fantastic his fantastic knowledge on ChatGPT and getting us thinking about the whole subject of artificial intelligence. Thanks again, Owen. So thank you for all the feedback that we've got for you from us. Another excellent show. Thank you, Simon. And we're going to say goodbye to you now on our Marketing CX outro right now. So we'll just say goodbye to you. See you next week on the show with Ricky Harris, and be there or be square. Cheers for now. I'll just wave goodbye to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you again for watching. Bye for now, and thank you very much. And we'll just come quickly back to the team just to say goodbye to you. We'll just wave bye-bye to you. Thanks again, Owen. Thanks, Sarah, for moderating. And we'll see you all again next week. Thank you very much. Cheers.